How we feeling? How we feeling? All right, let's get started, shall we? Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Dream Chasers Insanity. It is your professor, the dropout. Of course, I always want to mention that just in case somebody wants to go throw their little degree in my face and say they're smarter than me. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Dream Chasers Insanity. I want to share my appreciation, my gratitude for the people that just click on these videos every time, that actually gain something from these videos, and even better, might be able to apply these lessons to their lives. Hopefully, your life is a better place. Not because of me, but because of what we're able to do, the conversations that we're able to have, and the changes that we together are able to make in this life, in this world, in this experience, for us to actualize the fullness of what we came here to do. I desire to do nothing else other than see you on that journey, becoming the fullness of who you are. In a world that desires to hold you back from accessing that, if it doesn't complement the highly shameful, highly suppressive, highly rejecting society that already exists. I desire to see humanity in what humanity was meant to be before humans decided that we hated ourselves and we hated each other. Anything else is piss poor, is less than the standard that I know of in my heart. So, as the ancestors continue to wake me up in this life and don't let me go get my eternal rest, I'll continue to provide these episodes for you and hopefully continue to shift the consciousness in a direction that allows us to make some real world changes and not just exist in this internet space where we validate each other's trauma and we don't become better people as a consequence of it. This is a very important episode because this is also going to allow me to extend into speaking about not only how community has been destroyed by capitalism to serve the needs of capitalism, but also how we have, not we as a collective, but the powers that be and their little goons have allowed or used the revolutions of technology and industry to amplify the destruction of communities, to make as much profit from them as possible. And now as a society, we're in a position where the people don't have community, so therefore the people cannot be raised and cultivated themselves to be of any value whatsoever. So everybody collectively is clinging on to salvation that exists beyond themselves, but they don't know they are supposed to take responsibility in participating in, sharing, or at least in contributing to this collective. Whether it's by them being able to meet their own needs and take care of themselves, whether it's by means of them being able to be a part of a community, whether it's by means of them being able to access the benefits of something that a community had did or a community stood up for in the face of our society and was able to have handed down to everyday people. We are living in a world that continues to gaslight us and tell us, you're just not doing enough. You, individual, are just not doing enough. You're not trying hard enough. You don't care hard enough. When wealthy people are working in communities, in networks, in systems to build and maintain their wealth and convincing us, hey, look at representative, look at representative, look at representative. They did it all on their own. They don't have a family system and a trust fund and access to a high-profile network and access to lots of financial funding and support that goes beyond their blood family and relatives. They don't have, the positioning or the identity and status that allows them people and connections that can change lives in a matter of days. So the same idea in two different people has completely different opportunities to be actualized. Yet both people are competing as if they are the same people with the same opportunities. This is an episode, I know these intros are kind of long, so I don't want to make them too much because I know I'll do all the explaining in the video. But this is basically just my cry for community. And understanding that most of the videos I make anyway are like a handful of years in the future. So like many of these things won't be just like blaring blatant in front of our face for another couple of years. But just to let you guys know that we're walking ourselves off the boardwalk right into the Atlantic Ocean before we actually do it. So get a chance to look at the board if you'd like. Get a chance to appreciate my my headpiece. It's disappointing me that I might get some super glue and fix this because this is really making me sad, bro. Like we've been through so much together, and I feel like I haven't taken the responsibility upon myself to really cultivate this and care for this. So that one's on me, and I apologize to you guys who have to watch this. It's almost like getting on here with a bad haircut, and I apologize for that. But we will be better every single day. We're allowing ourselves to see new opportunities where we can improve. We're not hating ourselves for not accessing them. We're giving ourselves a chance to do so, to become better in a time that's aligned with the one that our soul desires to grow on. That's what we came here to do at the end of the day. So hopefully we get something out of this video today. Hopefully I got a little sexier since the last video. Hopefully you have some money in your pocket and you can give it to me because I'm hungry. Let's get into this video. Before we get into this video, I love to do my promo, my begging for money, because someone's got to do it somehow, or it just doesn't get done. And then you see me, actually, we're not going to get into what would happen if I wasn't begging for money right now. So let's get into it. I got a clothing brand that's out. Definitely some new styles going to be on the website by the time I upload this video. So go ahead and check them out. And if you think they're hard, you think they're cute, I'll save that for the end of the video. But if you think they're hard, go ahead and check some, buy some, and you can wear some, and then send me some pictures of you in them so I can post them on the brand pages to show the world that people actually buy, to show the world that we can get dry, we can get sexy up in this mug. I also have some courses, but by the time I upload this video, I'm not sure if they're going to be free or not, because I've decided that, those people who have access the courses to the point that they're at right now, you have everything. You know what you need to know. Hopefully you accessed it. Hopefully you downloaded it, because I'm paywalling it now. It won't be too much though. Like all of my courses, I'm adding 2 courses and it'll be a total of 4. All of them will be $50 courses, but they're going to be like 5-6 hours long. So remember that. Yeah, it's going to be maybe a little expensive for those of us who are working paycheck to paycheck, but remember, this is just a huge collective of very, very vital, important information that is being packaged for you to start your journey. The rest of the money that I'm hoping you will spend is not on me or trying to go into debt paying me for courses, but it's paying for you to appreciate your life to the fullness of your ability. So then you do have funds to be able to spend on all of the things that I would like to offer you, instead of you constantly spending all the money you do have on hopes and dreams I'm selling you to not get anywhere in your life and just see me live the life that you want to live. That's almost exactly why I made a video like this and why I speak from the position that I do, because this society wants us, especially as content creators and as leaders of communities if you want to call them that on social media, they want us to be this master who holds all the power of the community that is the attention of our people, and then we siphon anything else we can get from there through way of doing brand deals with other businesses or by running our own businesses. But I see myself as not necessarily this, of course, a leader in this world and especially of my community, but I don't see myself as the person who siphons and owns the community. I see myself as a member of the community that provides a really immense amount of value, but from my own unique position. And I also still need to be complemented by other people who also provide unique value, so we together can put all of our gifts in the bunch and make really immense, powerful impact together that complements way more people than just those of us who share our identity. Knowing the intention is to impact and to give that return and compensation to us, but that also comes with the bundle of being able to provide opportunity and resources and access to people who never would have otherwise had that. So it's always when one of us does for another and we do together, shares and happens to affect positively all of us. But in this side, it's one of us wins, and you basically, as a fan of this or as a participant in this cult, you are just funding the lifestyle of this person as they kind of twizzle like a open balloon, like kind of running out of air until they plop. And then you got to find somebody else to wear as a mask and then to hold accountable on things you should be holding yourself accountable for. Instead of being inspired by this person, to not be like them and own your own community, but to be inspired by them and how they contribute to their community, how they give to their community from their specific angle of the universe, and how in being the best you that you can be, you can also affect a community as immensely as somebody who does gain validation like this. But you don't need to be this person or need to leverage other people's codependence or other people's vulnerability or other people's desperation to have that kind of power. You can be a part of a collective that always lets you know when it's your time to be responsible for that much power, you will be in the right position to know what to do with it and to utilize it properly. Rather than forced to there, almost especially in this age of virality, forced into a position of power, and then almost always used as a tool by higher level capitalists to exploit the people that you have so graciously brought to support you along the way. And if they don't get sick of you for doing that, you'll give them a reason to get sick of you by throwing your whole life away, by drowning in the power that you would have never otherwise had access to if that community didn't build you up to such a point. Rather than allowing as many people as possible to, again, I'm going to keep going back and forth, but allowing as many people as possible to find out uniquely who they are, what position they are in, what they can contribute, and how they need to have their needs met, and how they can find a collective or even create a collective of people that helps complement both of those things. So their salvation, their ability to live in this earth is not held over their head by somebody who provides for them. It is something that they are actively, as a part of the community, contributing to making sure happens. Not only their sustenance and their livelihood and well-being, but that of the people in the community. Our responsibility is us. When one of the sheep of the flock goes, that is one of the family, that is one of us that goes. It's not Dan, it's not Susan, it's one of us, our tribesmen, our tribal member. And I'm hoping that's how we can start to think, especially as younger people in society, because all the older people have been sold illusion. I'll get into it. I'll get into this video. This was supposed to be a freaking promo, and now it turned into the video, basically. So let me just, if you want to give me money, links in the bio. If you don't have any money right now, but you still want to support the channel, which you always can, and I still appreciate that just as much, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Share this video, post it on your Instagram. If you have any sexy girls following you, tag all of them because I love sexy women. Let's get into the video. Okay. Actually, I realized something. We're going to have to go from here to here, back to here. I hope you guys are okay with that. Are you sure you're okay with that? We're not going back after this. I don't have time to go back, so we're doing it my way. This way. So the title of this video, Colonize the Community, Commodify the Culture. A good way to start is the equation that I keep speaking about that the capitalist uses to convince the desperate person who is ignorant enough to believe this bull, that this transaction is of any value. And this is how the colonizer has moved from the beginning, before we even started calling him the capitalist. We just called him the colonizer. I, the colonizer, who has zero value to... Let me make sure this is recording, actually, because I don't remember hearing that thing click. All right, good. I, the colonizer who has zero value to present you, I'm going to provide you some motive or some opportunity to save you from your current circumstances. Whether it's save you from your fear, save you from your struggle, save you from your lack of something, I have the answer for you. I can't show you though. And before I give it to you, you have to give me something of real value to you that I can actually appreciate my life with. And then, only after you give me that, I'll give you what I'm supposed to give you. But what I'm supposed to give you is way better than what you're supposed to give me. But you give me the best thing that you have because what I'm giving you is so good, right? And then when I give you what I have, then you're just going to love it so much you won't even care about what you gave up. It almost sounds like a scamming kid. I was going to say another word in there, but I don't want to only make it one demographic. I was going to say rich kid, but it sounds like a scammer attempting to convince somebody who is ignorant enough to have belief in said scammer. Convince them of a reality that doesn't exist. So the scammer can take dominion over this vulnerable victim's reality. And then any kind of value produced in the victim's reality can automatically be siphoned and handed right back to the scammer. In this case, the capitalist. And this colonizer has been running, doing whatever he can, whether it's inciting wars, inciting coups, it's been taking over countries, it's been indoctrinating the children, it's been breaking up the communities, it's been slave trades, it's everything. Genocides, one we got going right now even. So there's too many examples of it actively going on and have going on throughout history. This is just me and my autistic brain with the pattern recognition being able to see, bang. That's the thing that we do. And because of this this really holistic, subliminal social culture, and this knowing of hey, if you know the truth of reality, you're not supposed to say it because you might get punished for knowing it. But you're supposed to be intelligent because that's the only way you get certifications to get a job, to pay your bills, because you got to sell your soul. You got to sell your skills to society to earn compensation to live, because you don't deserve to live just because you exist or even because you're a citizen of this nation. That's also being gambled off by rich people to make themselves more rich too. It's so weird because it's if you have a soul in your body, a human heart in your body, and you understand, you hear these things I'm saying, it just sounds like we're being abused, bro. It sounds like we're living on a plantation. The 1% has 99%, and that is not enough. They don't even have a means of giving us 1 extra percent to continue to give us at least hope that this system is real and exists. They said, no. We want that 1% too. We want, instead of giving you 1%, so we have 98%, that makes us insecure. Let's go and just take everything. So there's a bunch of you, so many of you that don't have. So many of you that don't have anything. And the only thing you can do is tear each other apart to gain something. Because so few people who could never in any of their bloodline's existence could spend any of this. It's just hoarded wealth. And I always speak about this. This is why I say rich people are so sadistic. The ultra wealthy are sadistic, is because there's no saving you're doing. Nobody can predict the future, can project into the future to project the future, because the present is an ever-changing moment. You can only predict the future from the present moment. You can't move into the future and say, oh, I'm going to have 6 generations of children and I need $8 billion to save for them just in case the world gets bad. It's the wealthy are hoarding with the intention and this should actually tie us perfectly into the video or into the main squeeze of this video. Let's make sure we just This will tie us perfectly into the main squeeze of this video. And I already forgot. God fucking damn, I already forgot what I was going to say. Never mind, I knew what I was going to say. I just gave up on myself. Never mind, I forgot what I was going to say. We're going to get back to it. Again, okay, I remember. So the wealthy hoard all the wealth, not because it means anything, other than it's a great way of convincing people who have not already been ingrained in that ultra wealthy above the glass ceiling lifestyle. You can manipulate them and abuse them by giving them too much power and then making them sacrifice themselves for it. So I guess it is kind of smart to hoard all the power and then pick and choose who gets to have access to it, holding their livelihood over their heads every second they have access over the glass ceiling. But the point of it really, especially stretching poor people thin and just not caring, is you drive competition for capitalism by that. Even if there's the possibility of creating a civil war, you drive up competition for capitalism because you've already created a society of people who are convinced that they need, by their Americanism, they need to overwork themselves for crumbs in return because they're asking for too much if they want their basic needs met. So now, if that's the standard, what happens when people don't have food to eat, they don't have clothes on their back, when people don't have medication to treat themselves and the illnesses that they may or may not be going through that exist beneath the skin, but the neighbor does? But the neighbor has some salt, but the neighbor has some meat in their fridge, but the neighbor has AC, but the neighbor has, you see how we're in such immediate survival mode? The only thing we think is I see somebody who has in my immediate situation and I'm going to take it. We aren't even present enough in that position to say, oh, wealthy people are gaming them out of this system right now. And if they just shared even 5% of the 99 that they're hoarding, this world would be a drastically different place. And it would still be immense wealth inequality. But if they even shared 5%, it would give enough people hope and enough people opportunity to keep this system going for another 150 years. With all the same social issues, but somehow it would keep going. It is pure greed, bro. Pure greed and narcissism that is keeping this system the way it is, bro. And just nobody's smart enough to see, if we just gave these guys are convinced, side note, there's guys who are convinced that they are willing to vote for Donald Trump because they received $1,200 one singular time in 2020. Think about that. I used to believe that we as the poor people, like everyday people, were getting stretched thin with the intention of that happening. But I don't even think there's an intention of giving us anything. I think we're actually supposed to eat each other, as everyday people. That's what's going to get to. We start eating each other. And that's the society they create. And then that allows, which I'll make in another video, that allows the government and the wealthy people who own it to say, oh, you guys are afraid of the human animals that you live next to? How about we hyper-militarize this whole entire society? And with the introduction of AI, who's going to know what's right and what's wrong? Who's going to know what's truth and what's lies? And then the wealthy now have access to everything. The most widespread surveillance you've ever heard, bro. Or you've ever seen. Or maybe not seen, because they see you and you won't see it. It's just enough steps and angles and enough Harvard grads and Skull and Bones members to flip us into Germany of World War II at the peak of the H-man's domain. But it's wild how people we're so rejecting of that identity rather than what that identity and what that community stood for, that we don't want to assume or believe that America in 2024 and Germany in 1944 are like right neck and neck, waiting to be the same people, bro. But the problem is that American people are underserved. American people are ignorant and just like actually pure stupid, like illiterate stupid. You're going to be hard pressed to find like an actual intelligent class in America that supports white supremacist ideology, that supports anti-human, cult of identity, individualistic policy and like philosophy. You're going to be hard pressed to find an intellectual person that does. But you will find an idiot that lives in a trailer park that will. You will find an idiot that got $1,200 from Trump one time that will. Jesus, I don't even know how I like. maybe I should have just like written like a 1 point of this video, or at least a little bullet point section that should have shown me how to get through this video. And so, because I just keep going on too many tangents, this is just such an important concept to me. Knowing this complex of identities, or this complex of like community and the conversation around it in this society is just so intense, so important to me. And I want to make sure that I'm explaining this to you properly. And I guess with that being said, I just have to kind of get into it. So we live in a society where, since we, especially as marginalized people, we'll finish the equation first, we'll get into this, and then we'll get into that. How's that? Better? That's better. As the colonizer sells us the illusion of this reality that's going to save us from our current circumstance, basically just an entryway into the delusion, we give off our real reality to the colonizer. Our culture, our community, access to our people and our ways of life, thinking they're actually compensating us or giving us something reciprocal value in return, which they aren't. The only thing that exchange grants us is the only thing that relationship grants us, this transaction grants us, is bondage into a system where we are now eternally in debt to the colonizer. And they never give us back what they took from us or what we gave them, because they'll tell us, you gave it to us. So we never get that back. And they constantly give us conditional forms of salvation within their reality, because they know if they give us back the one that they took from us, then we never have to associate with them again. And now we know who they really are. So now they can't pull the charade on anybody else other than people who are desperate enough or ignorant enough to believe them. This is how America has been able to sustain itself, especially economically, over the past 75 years, just taking all the people that it's been punching down on and saying, your culture is cool. We like it. Let's make a bunch of money off it, and actually not appreciate you guys, create a nasty negative stereotype about you guys, so we can actually bastardize your culture as much as we want to, however we want to, without ever paying any kind of respects to you, the people who actually naturally live with this culture and probably could have helped us understand it and appreciate it a little bit more. Because if we did that, then we'd actually have to compensate you with the immense amount of wealth we're making off of you. And we don't want to do that. Because Blonde Jesus said it was okay. Now that we know... No, let's just get into this too. Let's get into this right now too. I might as well just explain it. Autistics, speaking personally, of course, and if this relates to you, it relates to you. Autistics without community are like fish out of water. As beings who are naturally in the brain hyper-connected, there's just more connections going on in our brain, and beings who are more in our body, not in our body, more in the mind, the inside world, than the physical body grounded world. It is very necessary for us to be around that constant support, constant reinforcement, constant accommodation, not because we are lesser than other people, but because Mind you, just as much as we need other people need us in our hypersensitivity, in our hyper divergence from the natural way to give different perspective, to present different experience, to provide a different kind of energy to regulate the human experience. That's what we're essentially here for that. And I don't want to say it's like, oh, we have to serve all people, calling this, calling that. But what I'm trying to say is it is very, very, very essential for us as autistic people, especially living in this hyper-individualistic society, that we do have community on different levels. And we know that it is okay to accept our need and desire to be in collective community. Because if we keep on rejecting that, we're going to send ourselves in very deep, very self-sabotaging cycles or paths of isolation. And that's not healthy at all. Because again, me telling you that we cannot exist in that space is not healthy for us. We are only further putting ourselves away from the help that we need, further rejecting ourselves, further putting ourselves in a position to find unhealthy coping mechanisms for treatable instances or circumstances. Society is just telling you that you have to do a bunch of hoops and hurdles to get to them, rather than letting you know, you, autistic, different person, doesn't matter what society is saying about everybody else. You need something else to be yourself, and then you can provide your unique value to that society that won't help you be who you're supposed to be. I created 3 examples, 3 different levels of community that we should all have access to. And after I explain these, I'll get in depth onto this, if I haven't already just been really dabbling in throughout the video. What types of communities are we have the opportunity to go to as a country moving forward. But the types of community and the 3 levels of community that I believe are very important for autistics to have. This is again in relation to my self-concept series, which could be paid now, but I don't know. It might be free if it's still on my YouTube, so go check that out. If not, give me money. But the first level is yourself. Your being, your soul. Second level is the system, your mind. Whatever is the tool in the community sense is the support system. And then society or collective. Culture, which is third spaces and whatnot. But I'll get into this right now. The reason why I aligned self, or at least the fundamental self, with special interest in niche groups are because I believe, especially as autistic people, what we are deeply interested in and passionate about is actually a reflection of some aspect of who we are. Where allistics wear their special interest as masks to be validated by groups in society, cult of identity, they'll wear an identity as a mask and join the community of identities, and then now shame other people who aren't as identity validated as them. So where allistics are doing that and then creating a whole subliminal social game around being able to accept and reject and balance people who nobody knows of which is really like a part of this or not. This is just the game now that this has become. We as autistic people, that is like, it's a real part of who we are, regardless of our identity. Like regardless of the mask we put on top of it. More times than not, because our interests are so deep or they're not socially validated, we get rejected for having those, and we have to put a mask on to protect the world from even seeing that we have these interests. We have to protect ourselves from exposing the fact that we are somebody or we like something, because the world is going to try to force it out of us or try to kick it out of us, suppress it so deep within us that we just cling on to wholly the validation of what the outer world has for us, rather than the knowing of who we are on the inside. So that's why I say the first form of community is yourself. It's knowing that you aren't just some being that's going out into the world collecting memorabilia and putting it on yourself to hope that people validate you. You are somebody with dreams and visions and ideas and interest and love and cares. And in that, you are a representative of that through your being. And I'm so glad we live in a world where people aren't just hyper dependent onto one kind of fashion. Everybody's wearing a suit. All the girls are wearing dresses. All of this is wearing that. Like, no, people are wearing t-shirts and hoodies and jackets and streetwear and sweatpants and all types of stuff. And that, even then, in a capitalist culture, more times people are dressing to be validated, not to actually accept and appreciate and actualize themselves. They're wearing these identities out of fear. They're wearing these identities out of shame because they want to cover them real selves up, not because they've taken the time to be with themselves and say, you know what, I do love that. I do care about that. I am passionate about that. And I will be a representation or a reflection of that in my life. Because that has inspired me so much. I feel a real relationship, a connection, almost like a parasocial relationship to this interest, this niche, this group, this whatever this is, this concept. And as a byproduct of our relationship, I've either created something, I've collabed with something, I have understood something, and now that aligns me with a community of other types of people, different types of people who share that interest, who share that need. And in sharing that need to pursue this interest, to actualize this dream, to follow this path, we come together and we pull off the ego, we pull off the parts of our ego that are pointy and pricking other people, and we find out how our unique soul from the position we sit in can complement this group of people who all want to fulfill this need for themselves, but know we have to humble our individual selves and individual desires to meet the collective need first, so everybody's needs can be met, and then after that, we can start to fulfill the desires that we have for our individual selves. But knowing that will always be secondary to meeting the needs of the community, because if everybody's needs can be met, or most of our needs can be met, and the rest of the people who aren't having their needs met can at least believe that they have an opportunity to have their needs met, we live in a world where we're not afraid of people taking and stealing from one another because they don't have, but they know somebody else does. We're not living in a world where somebody is punching down on somebody for winning and succeeding because they're insecure about other people's success and they're not willing to sacrifice their own negativity and insecurity to uplift another person within their community. Completely different when you're leading with the priority or the prioritization of the collective soul over the individual ego. Because the ego, or the soul in this case, has to teach the ego that the soul is what's infinite. And from investing in the soul, the ego will always be served. But in serving the ego, it gets to a point where there is one ego. There's so many people who are broken in their identity. There is one ego to be followed. All of the energy of the community gets siphoned to the top, and one ego is to be followed, and everybody from the collective soul is at the mercy of serving that one ego, that master, that leader. Or if it's not a leader, it's a representative identity. Okay, I might get canceled for this, but some guy died 2,000 years ago who was perfect, a perfect human being. Perfect human being. And you cannot get your salvation. Nobody that lived after that one person can get their salvation through anybody except that one being. And now we are all as a collective codependent to the hope that this person in the future is going to come save us from our present circumstances. What's happening to us right now while we're waiting for that salvation? Who's taking advantage of us in the present moment, of our naivete, of our ignorance, of our desperation, while we are waiting and not taking responsibility for meeting our own salvation right now? Who is taking advantage of us? Who is depriving us of the ability to live right now, to validate ourselves right now, to become right now, and not need to fear judgment in the future or be so hopeful that we dissociate from our present of salvation in the future that is supposed to, again, save us from today. Get out of the above the sky, below the ground, outside of right now, and focus on what you can control and who you are right now and who actually influences that, or at least decides, plays a role in helping you decide how you make your decisions. I think we did a pretty good job of explaining all this. I think we did a pretty good job. But honestly, there's actually one more part that I'd like to explain here. I'm seeing right here, imposed scarcity. That might be a very important thing to add. Because remember, the reason why scarcity even exists here is because all of these people in this cult of identity, this fake community, their real resources are going to serve one person, and that one person is compensating them in a way that is not of equal value to the resources that they're giving up. So they're either actually scarce in resources and really codependent on what the master is doing with their resources, or there's a false sense of scarcity. And because of that false sense of scarcity, that causes fear. And out of fear, the people now cling on to the illusion of salvation. And that's important because in a cult of identity where everyone has the same identity, but the needs are different, crabs in a bucket is very, very, very scary. I made 2 notes, crabs in a bucket and culture identity competitions. The reason why I say it's scary is because this cult of identity is usually created by a need that needs to be met. There's an identity that has a need that needs to be met. But instead of finding the community or creating the system that can meet that need effectively, it goes to a community of somebody or somebody else that also needs that need met, and then they complain together. And then they complain with somebody else together. And then they complain with somebody else. And then it becomes a community of people complaining or maybe actually working on something together. But the problem with that is even if that group does get their needs met, they've never established the desire, or at least the need, for the people to humble themselves for the sake of the group. To know, hey, you know what? Everybody has needs in this group to be met, but if we're not able to get to a foundation of, okay, what are we willing to have, to meet as a collective, and what do we need to humble ourselves in or wait to take responsibility for ourselves after we sacrifice our present moment to meet this need for the group. So if there's a bunch of people in this group who have needs to be met or have discrepancies or have issues of the structure of the group, they are going to tear up the inside of the group because their identity, this is a mid-manager and this is a entry level and this is an intern. Well, I've been here at the company for 45 years, so I deserve this compensation. Well, I just got hired from Harvard and I have this degree and I just transferred in from so-and-so, so I deserve to have this. Well, I just got recruited from McKinsey and I am going here, so I deserve this amount of compensation. So-and-so doesn't deserve that. They're this. So-and-so doesn't deserve that. They pick their nose during a meeting. So-and-so doesn't deserve this. They have nappy hair. You're starting to see how at first we came into a community because we're all the same identity. But in not knowing, we all have different needs that need to be met. And we built this community out of fear. The only way we know how to serve the needs of the community is out of fear. Whether it's out of rejecting, like being rejected of that identity, kicked out of the school, kicked out of the group, not allowed to wear the title anymore, License revoked? No, I'm playing. If you're really doing some bad stuff with like a professional license, you're a piece of shit. But fear is what builds these communities. And then over time, the people in these communities forget who they are as an independent person and forget of their ability to take responsibility to meet their own needs or to be a part of a community that is a lot more niche, or at least niche enough to help meet more of their needs, rather than them being one person in a 500-person classroom attempting to ask the teacher a question for help on the homework. I'm always gonna talk about it. Just, and this applies especially to the society we live in right now, especially in America, and because billionaires own everything here. When we create a world like this, we do it and we're sold the convenience of not having to take responsibility for our own circumstances in our own life. But we forget that we've also sold the ability to be able to meet our own salvation, to be able to take the steps and responsibility for the steps that grant us our own salvation. We said, you know what? I'm going to let those guys take care of it. I'm going to let those guys, my big bro over here who just showed up out of here, bro, and gave me a little bit of cash, gave me $1,200 during the pandemic. I'm just going to let him take care of it. And I'm going to hope he has my best interest at heart, even though behind the scenes he's calling me to his friends and they're laughing about it. If you're listening to this video on a podcast, bro, I apologize. You're missing out on some quality expletives on the YouTube. So go ahead and just subscribe there first. Some examples of this cult of identity that I'll give are the suburbs, Instagram, and nightclubs. Let me make sure this is still recording first, and then I will get into those explanations. Perfecto. Okay. Why do I think suburbs are a great example? Before I get into that, let me explain this very, 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 very important part right here that I said. Just so you guys aren't, damn it, this is a very important part in relation to the whole cult of identity aspect that I was just describing. And you know how I was saying these communities are built off fear, right? What's important about that is that once you get in the community, a smart person understands that only one person, and the person that the master picks, will truly be served by this system. But really, at the end of the day, the master is the only person that gets served here. So unless you are willing to put up with that, give 99% and receive 1% back, then you know it's like not a system for you. But the reason why it's so hard to get out of these types of cults, these types of systems that are so hyper enmeshed and codependent as a collective, are because you're convinced, hey, we are the best, we are right, we are the truth, and everybody out there is the one that's confused. Everybody out there has issues. Everybody out there is wrong. And the more you believe that, or you're forced to believe that and depend on that kind of psychosis and that kind of delusional reality being imposed upon you, the further away you get from relating to anybody who exists in the outer world. And you take it upon yourself to think that that means there's something wrong with them, rather than somebody brainwashing you out of reality to become a literal tool of their community at some point. Because once your codependence becomes permanent enough in the community, now you're a tool, a speaking box, a referral for the whatever the community is, whatever the agenda of your group is. You want an example of that? American exceptionalism. How many Americans who promote American exceptionalism have ever really been outside the country? No, better example. How many Americans who tell people, if you don't like it here, you should just leave? How many of those people have been outside the country? And of those people who've been outside the country, how many of them know America's role in influencing the creation of third world countries to make sure that American imperialism is the only righteous form of Western democracy? See? It's quite simple, bro. When you just put the mirror in front of people's faces for having an opinion, you realize how many people are just not saying anything but talking points they've been fed by something that they watch, by someone that they like who doesn't know either. Now it's time to get into the examples of cult of identity. The suburbs is a perfect example, because think about this. Everybody's got their white picket fence in their house, yet so-and-so has an emotional issue with their spouse. So-and-so's kid's doing bad at school in this house. So-and-so's daughter is having issues at school at this house. So-and-so's kid right here just got 16-year-old just got another 16-year-old pregnant, and now they're keeping the kid, and now this person has their issues, and now this person has a bunch of medical debt because nobody wanted to care for them when they tripped and fell down the stairs, and now blah, blah, blah. It's almost like everybody keeps their issues in their house, right? And it's like, to be a part of this community, you better not have no issues that we can't solve by being here. So everybody keeps their trauma and their issue locked into their house. But don't worry, guys, this is a community. We all have the same area code. We all live on the same street. We all live in the same cul-de-sac. So we have to be a community, right? I don't see no block parties. I don't see no kids hanging on the street. I don't see no kids running into houses of other people, of their friends, of their peers, of their families like that live in the community. It's like the suburbs is all, well, none of us wanted to live around our family members. I hate my in-laws. My spouse hates the in-laws. So we all just live here with a bunch of other people that hate the in-laws and want to live in a place where nobody disturbs them. And we all kind of look the same, so we don't have to be afraid. And if somebody who looks different comes into this community, then we can be afraid and enact violence on them. Out of fear, of course. There's no sense of community. Maybe there is. Maybe you guys get drunk on the Super Bowl. Maybe you guys hang out every now and then, but like community that extends beyond the cult, or community that extends beyond the cult to further impact, whether that's in time and space, cultivating future or helping future generations, helping other communities. No, it doesn't do any of that. It only serves the cult. Oh, okay, right. It only serves the protection of the suburb, of the community. I'd actually like you guys to do some research. If you're watching this long into the video, I'd like you guys to do some research on the black neighborhoods that had to get blown through to create the transportation infrastructure that allowed Hollywood to be what it is. And all of the suburban wealthy white folks that said, "Sir, yes, sir," to allow that to happen. And then now tell me what Hollywood looks like. After all the people who do get funneled through Hollywood also get thrown onto the street as well and not given opportunities to even go back to where they came from. Next one. Instagram. We all like this person. We all stan this person. So this is basically just like a collective of standing individual people. It used to be a community app when you used to see the posts of the people that you followed and then actually see the comments of people interacting to some extent in videos. Oh, now all you see is ads. Now all you see is sponsored content. Now all you see is other people's posts. You see the posts that get the highest engagement. Now you're automatically resorted into posting reels instead of posting regular posts because nobody cares about seeing what you do in your real life, bro. We only want to, you have to post reels so you can get viral because we're competing with My bad, I wasn't supposed to say that. But do you see how Instagram has become? There is no sense of community truly that gets built on Instagram. It's just marketing pages for everyday humans. Like if you as a human being were a business and you needed a marketing page, that's what Instagram is. And let me double down on that side note. Tinder is the marketing page for your dating identity. LinkedIn is the marketing page for your job identity. Instagram is the marketing page for your social mask identity. You see that? So many of these widespread tools just exacerbate the desire to have an identity. You heard that, bro? That's the funniest shit that's ever happened during these videos, bro. That might be the thing I was scared of the most, but it already happened, so here we go. And that was just so funny, I forgot where I was. Oh, I was talking about Instagram. But you're in just such a position to have an identity and to need to validate that identity by means of likes, by means of comments, by means of followers and brand deals that you're doing, that now you've bought into the equation thinking that like, oh, well, maybe I'm just not playing this game properly enough. Maybe I need to give more real value for my real life, spending more time on there, posting more pictures, engaging more effectively, posting more strategically to this system to hope that this system gives me the validation that I want, which is never. Because if I gave you the validation you want, then you'd get off the app. But if I don't, then you'll stay on here forever. Mind you, you might stay on here for way longer than you ever thought you would because you're looking for something on here that you'll never find on here. And you're with a bunch of other people who are also doing the same thing, not knowing they'll never find it on here either, creating games, creating identities, creating competitions to beat each other down for the little self-concept you even have, making you more ashamed, more afraid, more rejecting of who you really are in a game full of people who are faking it, who they really are, to gain validation from that identity rather than actually be validated in their real authentic selves. So remember, Instagram, it's your marketing page. It's literally your human marketing page. Look at it like that. I'm sorry. If you're somebody like me who is still real and posts real pictures, like, keep posting your real pictures. But if you want to blow up on Instagram, you want to like some real shit on there, and this is just me as like an entrepreneur as well. Use it as a marketing page. Create some kind of brand aesthetic for you, and then just use it as a marketing page, and then just run it up. Post viral stuff, follow trends as they trend up, bro, go viral, like straight up. But if you want to be real, that shit ain't acceptable. That shit ain't acceptable, G. Gotta check if it's still recording. Yeah. Last example is nightclub. Now again, I love beautiful women. I like dressing fly. I like consuming substances that change the way your brain works every now and then. And I like all of them together. The problem is there's the identity has become so, especially with Instagram as well, the identity has become so much more important, and the perception of the ability to navigate, the ability to have eyes on, the ability to exploit a community built upon that identity has become so important that you go to the club and everybody's on their phone or taking pictures with their phone that they're going to post on their social media. But also they have to sit on their phone looking nonchalant and cool so nobody thinks that they're actually like too crazy or too quirky, right? Because we're supposed to leave that in 2008 with the freaking housing crisis. Like nobody is going, and okay, this isn't me saying I go out to the clubs and I freaking bring it on, but I'm just saying that like people are going almost with the intention of hoping that like there's a story to tell on social media or somebody to record and post on social media or some like viral moment that's not them or maybe one that is them. They're narcissistic enough to think that. And it's like, dude, like we're in psychosis, bro. Like we're in social media psychosis. Like we're not even going to the club to like go to the club and have fun, take a little something that you shouldn't be taking and maybe having a little more fun than you expected. But we're not even going to do that no more. We're going with the cognizant of the awareness of the idea, I might lose my whole entire life, bro, because of having too much fun showing up to this event. And mind you, I already had to dress up nice. I already had to freaking get all my stuff going. I already had to freaking make sure that I can freaking riz up all these baddies, bro. Like, I'm already freaking overthinking this shit. And now I have to lose my whole life on social media now? Because you thought I was dancing funny? Because you thought my drip wasn't drippy enough? I'm sorry my voice is getting high pitched, but like, goddamn, a nigga angry. I'm mofo, I say that. But we're done with that now, thankfully. And because we're able to finish at least the awareness of what is a cult of identity, I'm now going to give you a definition, or at least kind of examples of what I think a conscious community could be and how it behaves. Because these are different identities, like complex collective of people who are all looking to meet the same need. The focus is not fear, it's love on this side. And it isn't love in almost like the hyper aroused, hyper sexualized way that we think of love in this kind of society, in a capitalistic, exploitative, predatory society. It's awareness of, initially, being able to be aware of something, especially the humanity of something. And the next thing after that is being able to accept that for what it is. Not determine something is and then say, I'm going to appreciate you in this way. It's, you are this thing. I have identified, and now in my identification, because I know I can only know you so much, I allow you to express yourself so I can better accept you for the complexity of who you are. And in doing that, and in being able to accept you, I can now see from a position of love, I see you and I accept you. Now I can see how we can, I almost said use. Now we can see how you can actualize that self that you accept by means of being supported by and being involved in this community. Okay? To be able to fully be the self. At least be on a process, be on the journey of fully becoming the self. And if this community is a part of that journey or not for the duration of the time that you're on that journey, so be it. But if it isn't, again, so be it. But the point is to better this process for the individual. Awareness of self, acceptance of self, actualizing the self. What community helps the self do that the best without the self needing to shed itself or enmesh itself to feel bigger than it is? Be the fullness of what it is while still being fully a part of the community and still prioritizing the responsibility of the collective over the individual. Knowing that if that is done properly, the individual will always be compensated at the end if the desire to do so is there. Because you might even be a person that realizes, damn, the community meets the needs of so much stuff. Now I can just do what I want to do as long as I'm responsible for doing what I'm supposed to do. And life is good. I'm not enslaved to anybody or anything, especially not an identity. I'm a part of a community that allows me to amass or become whatever identity I so choose to be. And that is power, because I can let go of an identity that's not serving me just as quickly as I can assume an identity that gives me the life that I know I am. I always explain this stuff before I even get to pointing to it on the board, so hopefully this is big enough for you guys to read, because I have no desire of going back and just, yes, yam, 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 yam. But I will conclude by saying the focus of this, and I always want us to please look and listen to the voices in the indigenous communities of America, especially, and of Africa as well, African tribes and communities. Please look and see how the village raises the child. That mentality, we as a collective are responsible for each individual child, no matter who brought them into this earth. But because they are here, they are our responsibility. Making it so much more difficult to leave people behind, leave children behind, leave people to become monsters because they've spent so much time being unaccommodated by a society that they're forced to give themselves to. Collective responsibility, contribution will always meet individual fulfillment. One just has to be patient enough to understand that I have to be willing to sacrifice something to this community of value to appreciate the collective, to give us as a collective the best opportunity. And maybe it's not the community as a whole that serves your need. Maybe somebody in this community gets their needs met. And by being able to do that, now they can use their gifts to help you meet your needs, to help this person meet their needs, to help this community better regulate itself. So, because when engaging with that positive intention and that positive energy, we are by proxy raising the energy and the vibration of those who are affected around us, even if it's just by the awareness of what we're doing. Yeah. Conscious cowboy. They might be calling me the conscious cowboy in a second here. Let's see. Oh, I'm way over time. I don't even care though. This is my house. This is my house. I run this. These people know that, bro. They might think I'm these people think whatever they want. I don't give a. I run this place, bro. I live here damn near. Now it's time to give you examples of what I believe a conscious community is. Sports teams. I have a loving relationship with the sports teams that I've been on, even though my parents went out of their way to absolutely try to sabotage any type of career I could have. Them, hate them forever. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is sports teams are so important because look at the different backgrounds that these kids come from and see how they're able to let go, especially let go their struggles and their flaws to truly become the best version, the best player in their position to make the team better so the team can win championships. Because, forgive me, you can put all the all-stars you want on a team. If the all-stars aren't willing to play as a team better than regular players who can play like an all-star team, you will forever lose to the regular players. You cannot put a bunch of giants in a collective and expect them to even want to work together because many of them might even be perceiving the opportunity as, oh, I'm supposed to carry, I'm supposed to win, I'm supposed to lead. And if everybody is a leader, who is to be led? Nobody. And then it's just everybody fighting to decide who is the leader or who is to be accepted by the leader rather than anybody actually being humble enough to be led by a leader and fail or succeed, but just be a part of the experience of cultivating a culture and cultivating a collective consciousness. And if not doing either of the two of those, at least cultivating a self-concept through a real life experience. Indigenous ethnic communities. I just explained this, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Village raises a child. That mentality is very, very, very important because it shows us that we are living in a society that says, in a world full of this many 100 million people, this many billion people, I meant to say a nation of this many 100 million, but in a world full of this many billion people, we're going to force women, damn near force women to have children, especially in America. We're going to force women to have children, yet we are not going to create any kind of communities or support systems that can actually validate that, like, hey, you know what? If you aren't able to take care of your kid or monitor your kid 24/7, this village around you, the neighborhood, the community, the social welfare will definitely be able to take care of your child. Not as much as you could, But we'll definitely be able to make sure this becomes a stand-up human being in this society, even if this is all they get to experience. We can't even guarantee that. And one of my mutuals on TikTok, actually, her name's China, I think, made this very, very interesting point, saying that with all the forced birth in legislation politically happening in America, it almost seems like there are people in power who genuinely want babies and young people to be born in very vulnerable positions to take advantage of them. Whether it's taking advantage of their future, whether it's taking advantage of their bodies, whether it's taking advantage of their minds, but there is a collective that has valid say or some kind of credible say in positions of power that genuinely desires that kind of engagement. The predatory exploitation of young people. And you have to, as an intellectual, you have to agree with that because we force so many people to be born and we have zero safety net for the people who already are born. That's all I'm saying. Really, really ask yourself the serious, the important questions. If a village doesn't raise a child, but you know that the person who birthed a child can't raise one on their own because they have to work, they have to provide, they have to sustain themselves, they have to do tasks, they have to be an adult, not just a parent, then you start to question, what kind of society are we really living in? You force people to go into debt for school, but then you don't tell them that there's not going to be any jobs for them in the future because you're actually going to replace all of them with AI. You just needed them to fill in the bodies while you were figuring it out. And now they got a bunch of debt and there's no opportunities for them to pay it off with. Did we just create indentured servants? I think we did. The final place, which is my favorite place to go on planet Earth. I just spit a little bit. I apologize for that. My absolute favorite place to go on planet freaking Earth, the dispensary. And it wouldn't be if we as everyday people were able to cultivate our own grass, if you know what I mean, and to grow it in the communities or grow it in people's houses and just be able to, raise it like a regular plant and share it and enjoy it as a community. Because they want to convince you it's illegal what plugs are doing, kind of running that to people's houses and whatnot. I guarantee you that's the least illegal thing that I've ever seen. If nobody from any of them major banks went to jail for what happened in 2008, everybody who has any kind of violation for anything to do with Greeny's get taken out of jail right now. But none of that has anything to do with what I'm trying to say right here. What I'm trying to say here is that if you've ever been to the dispensary, you'll realize that it's always a bunch of different looking people. Okay, also one more thing. What's funny when you go to dispensary, I don't know, maybe it's a city thing, but there's always beautiful women working at dispensaries. It's like Trader Joe's, bro. I don't know what the reason is for that. I don't know if that's part of the criteria, the eligibility, but I thank you for that. Because I'm already going in there excited, and then I see a beautiful woman, and I get even more excited, and my day can't get no better than this. And then my social anxiety comes in, and I don't say nothing other than hoping my card doesn't freaking fail. And then I get my stuff, and I get out of there. But what I'm trying to say is there's always so many different types of people. You just know there's different stories and lineages that come from everybody who goes in there. But even though we're all different, we don't let that get in the way of us sharing the need and the appreciation for getting stoned. It's a beautiful sense of community, a beautiful culture that's built here. And what's even better is that the activity that we all appreciate doing so much actually help us be more happy and chill. So we appreciate this even more. And we're feeling more relaxed and more able to appreciate this experience. Not just off the rocker, freaking making sure we're trying to get a nut off because I came here and I paid for that girl's drinks and I blah, blah, dressed up in this Amiri on my... You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope you know what I'm saying. Because sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. But I think this video is done, honestly. And for that I say thank you. God damn, I need to grow some more hair, bro. This should be itchy than a... I think this video is done, honestly. So yeah, hopefully you guys like this total rant about community and cults of identities. And just know that this is what we're going to be struggling with as an American people over the next like 10 to 20 years, because social media has literally ripped community from us and continues to sell us this false illusion of like what community is. So we don't realize that like, hey, even if there's 100 million people that follow Kim Kardashian, none of those, if you put all those people in a room together, they would tear each other up by like the third day. So it's like, is that even a community if when they need to be a community, they can't be a community? And if they can't be a community, then you know what I'm talking about. It's just a cult. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to show up to my class. Finally. No, I'm playing. I might end up going the dickhead teacher route soon. So if you feel that, just know that it's all just jokes. I'm playing with y'all. Thank you for showing up to class. Thank you for showing up and listening to me. Hopefully, you waited till the end to get stuck. You know I don't care. Continue to enjoy these videos and use them to apply to your life. To hopefully, especially if you're an autistic person, hopefully make you feel a little bit more human in this craziness that we're living through. It's not going to get any better, but we will get better. I have every intention of giving us every opportunity to make us the best version of ourselves that we can be. And if not the best, at least one that we can fully accept in a world that doesn't want us to do so. Until next time, thank you so much. Let's rock out.